For this bottom tier, I am doing a lemon cake, pretty subtle, and then I made a lemon curd, which is very tart and sweet. And then I'm also doing a brown butter buttercream. Actually, it's a brown butter cream cheese buttercream. And so I'm just going to layer this up, and I'm spreading a layer of buttercream on each side of the tier. That way the lemon curd doesn't seep in. I want to keep that layer. This tier is going to look just like the Country Crock tub of butter, so that's why that is sitting on my counter, so I can see the shape of it. In order to get as close to the color of the tub, I am using a brown, a gold, and just a little bit of green. And that gets me pretty close to the correct color. And I'm just melting a little bit of my Italian buttercream in the microwave, adding the color, pretty dark, and then mixing it into my main batch. So I've already crumb coated and final coated the tub of butter, and now I'm just leveling out the top. It was a little lopsided. That's what you see me doing here. Just piling some up on top and around the sides that's low and fixing it. And then I'm going to attach the sugar labels. I just printed it out, found a picture online, cropped them, blew them up to the right size. Now I'm cutting them out, and I am going to use a little bit of water to adhere them to the buttercream. For the quilted layer and the spool of thread, I am doing chocolate cake with chocolate mousse and the Italian buttercream on the outside. Time to do the quilted tier, and I am rolling out several different colors and using some texture mats to add some texture, make it look fabricy. And then I'm laying a piece of plastic wrap over the top before I cut any of my pieces out to help around the edges. If I wanted to give a more pillowy look, I would have had a thicker piece of fondant and then laid the plastic wrap over and cut it out. It would have given it more of a pillowy look. But I didn't want big, thick pieces of fondant, so we went with the thinner one. And now it's just a matter of cutting different sizes, some squares, some rectangles, and applying them. And it's not really an exact science here. I'm just kind of measuring the empty spaces and filling it up. Just as I colored my buttercream for the tub of butter, I colored some modeling paste. And now I'm snaking it out, and I'm also, I created a template for the lid of the tub. So I'm cutting the lid out and I'm snaking out some pieces to make the edge of the lid. And I'll just kind of stack those up and create the right look. I'm just adding the ropes of modeling paste to my tier, shaping them, using water to adhere them together, and just using my fondant tools to get the right shape. And I put some wadded up plastic wrap in the corner because I want it to look like the lid is being opened. That way I can put my black-eyed peas in there. My grandma always stores her leftovers in recycled butter tubs and sour cream containers, so I just wanted to bring that into the cake. A little fun detail. Now I'm just adding my thread to the quilt tier, and then I'm going to go back in and on some of the patches I'm going to add some little hearts. Now to make my black-eyed peas, I am coloring some fondant with some ivory, just a little bit of ivory, snaking it out, chopping it up into small pieces, and then I one by one take it and shape it into a black-eyed pea shape. And then I'm going to let them dry and then add the little black dots in the center. The board is covered in white fondant that I pressed a lacy pattern into, and then I dry brushed on some silver luster just to highlight some of the lacy texture. So I cheated just a little bit on the cake, and I went ahead and bought a pre-made magnolia flower, but I did make the leaves for it, so wasn't all store-bought. And so I'm just cutting out freehand some big leaves, and I'm gonna texture them a little bit and lay them on a curved surface to dry. For my spool of thread tier, I have a 4-inch cake, but I put it on a 6-inch board, so I am rolling out some modeling paste, and I have a couple different sizes of rounds, so I have a 6-inch and a 4-inch, about the size of the tier, and I am going to cut the 6-inch out and then cut a 4-inch hole in the center and then slide it over my tier. That way I can cover that board so it looks like the bottom of the spool. Now for the top of the spool of thread, I'm just rolling out some more of the modeling paste, and I'm going to cut it a little larger than the 6-inch, and I'm going to cover the brown side, not the white side. That way, after I put it on, if you look up underneath, it'll be white, not brown. In an effort to use less fondant, I just colored some of my Italian buttercream the correct color, put it in a piping bag with a round tip, and just started spinning the board and creating the thread effect. Now it's time to dowel and stack. So I'm just adding my dowel rods to support my spool of thread. Pop that on there, and then I'll get a long dowel rod that reaches all the way from the top all the way into the board and nail that in there. Definitely should have chilled that tier before I nailed it on, because when I started to nail the dowel rod through, the icing came off, but that's okay. I was able to spread it back and fix it. I made some cake gel for the liquid for my black-eyed peas, and you can look up a recipe on YouTube, and I just made it and then colored it with a little bit of gold. Actually, I think I just used a little bit of ivory, and then I put it in a piping bag and kind of piped it in there in the opening, and now I'm just placing my black-eyed peas and getting some of the liquid on top. Now I'm attaching the needle that I made and putting some threads of buttercream over the top of it so it looks like it's kind of stuck in there, and just kind of doing some touch-ups. Now for the final details, I am adding some of the leftover black-eyed peas kind of scattered on the board, using a little bit of icing to adhere them to the board so they're not sliding around on me. And then when I get to the venue, I will put my magnolia flower and my magnolia leaves on the very top.